Karoline Leavitt, the youngest White House press secretary in history, fearlessly steps into the spotlight of a fiery confrontation with music icon Jay-Z, kicking off a dramatic media battle. Amid public uproar over shocking revelations about Diddy, from allegations of gun threats to scandalous freak-off parties, Leavitt vows to expose the truth the entertainment industry has tried to conceal. With steely resolve, sharp rhetoric, and an unrelenting attack strategy, Karoline Leavitt not only stuns the media, but also forces Jay-Z to face an unprecedented counterattack from the political arena. A realm seemingly untouchable by the hip-hop mogul's glamour. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories. The dazzling stage lights illuminate the Truth Uncovered studio in New York, where the audience holds its breath in anticipation of a heated debate. Host Laura Bennett, with a professional demeanor and a sharp voice, steps onto the stage smiling confidently. "Welcome to Truth Uncovered," Laura begins, her eyes scanning the crowd. "Today we'll explore the intersection of the entertainment world and political power with two special guests. Karoline Leavitt, the youngest White House press secretary in history, and Shawn Carter, better known as Jay-Z, a global music icon." The audience erupts in applause. Leavitt, in a pink blazer, exudes sharp confidence. Jay-Z, polished in a black jacket, maintains a calm demeanor, but with weary eyes. Laura continues, her tone serious. "Miss Leavitt, President Trump has appeared at events with Jay-Z and Diddy. What does this say about his relationship with the elite?" Leavitt, with a confident smile, responds without hesitation. "Laura, let's be clear. President Trump is a businessman, a networker. He attends major events." "Yes, but that doesn't mean he endorses everyone's actions there. In fact, I have information showing Trump declined opaque business offers from Diddy. He doesn't need that drama to succeed." The audience murmurs, some nodding in agreement. Jay-Z, still composed, leans forward, his voice low but sharp. "I'm not here to talk about parties from decades ago. I've only met Trump a few times, and I've never supported him. What Karoline's doing is steering the conversation to protect her boss. Let's talk about Trump's policies, like how he's divided my community." Light smirks, her eyes flashing with defiance. "Jay-Z, you want to talk about division? Let's talk about your silence when your close friend Diddy faced serious allegations. You've spoken out about social justice, but where were you when Diddy was investigated for misconduct?" Rock Nation was probably too busy writing new rap verses to face the truth. Scattered applause rises from the audience with some chuckling at Leavitt's sharpness. Laura Bennett raises a hand, trying to regain control. "Hold on, Karoline. That's a heavy accusation. Jay-Z, do you want to respond?" Jay-Z crosses his arms, his gaze fixed on Leavitt. "I'm not here to answer for Diddy. He's dealing with his own issues, and I trust the legal system. But Karoline, you're trying to deflect. Trump isn't the innocent man you paint him as. He's called people like me a problem, and you know it. Leave it." It tilts her head, her voice soft, but cutting like a blade. "It's interesting you mentioned the legal system, Jay-Z, because I have some information from that very system, specifically from Diddy's trial, that I think the audience would love to hear. Want me to share it now, or would you rather keep talking? About your Trump meetings from 2 decades ago?" The audience roars, the studio atmosphere thick with tension. Laura, seizing the moment, interjects, "Karoline, what are you hinting at?" "If you have information, Garrett, we want the truth." Leavitt nods, picking up an iPad from the table, its screen glowing with legal documents. "All right, Laura, I'll start with a story from a witness. Capricorn Clark, Diddy's former assistant. What did she testify in court? That Diddy wasn't just a music mogul, but acted like a real mob boss with guns, threats, and control over his staff. And Jay-Z, you're his close friend. You didn't know anything?" Jay-Z clenches his fists, his voice firmer. "You're trying to smear me with unrelated allegations. I wasn't in the room when those things happened. I'm focused on building my community, not tearing it down." Leavitt chuckles softly, her eyes unflinching. "Building community? Then why didn't you speak out when Diddy was accused of kidnapping and making death threats? Or were you too busy with million-dollar deals to notice? The audience deserves the truth, and I'm here to deliver it." Jay-Z takes a deep breath, his voice calm but resolute. Diddy and I are friends. Yes, but I'm not responsible for his every action. Karoline, you're good at deflecting, but you can't hide Trump's failures. Let's talk about how he handled the economy, or how he turned people against each other. Leavitt doesn't flinch. Jay-Z, I'll talk about the economy if you want, but first let me tell the audience how Diddy forced employees to work to exhaustion, didn't pay overtime, and used violence to control them. Want me to share the details, or do you want to keep defending a friend you claim you don't know? Well, the audience erupts, the studio atmosphere blazing. Laura, seeing Leavitt gaining the upper hand, tries to balance things. Karoline, if you have evidence, present it. But Jay-Z deserves to speak too. We're veering off the Trump topic. Leavitt smiles, her eyes gleaming. Oh, Laura, I'm not off topic yet. I'm just warming things up. And trust me, what's coming next will make both Jay-Z and Diddy think twice about clashing with the White House. Jay-Z shakes his head, but his eyes betray tension. The audience leans forward, murmurs fading into a charged silence. Laura Bennett, sensing the pivotal moment, adjusts her glasses and leans in. Karoline, you just mentioned some striking information about Sean Diddy Combs' trial. Can you clarify your point? Specifically, what argument are you making in this context? Leavitt's eyes sparkle with confidence, her voice steady but sharp as a blade. Laura, I'm not just talking. I have proof. Let's talk about Capricorn Clark, Diddy's former assistant, who spilled everything in federal court. Picture this. A young woman just starting her job, dragged by Diddy and his bodyguard Uncle Paulie's to Central Park. Why? Because she once worked for Shoe Knight, Diddy's rival. Right in Manhattan's lush greenery, Diddy stared her down and vowed to take her out if she stayed tied tonight. That's not a music mogul. That's the behavior of a gang leader. Leavitt taps her iPad, a courtroom sketch appearing on the large screen behind depicting a tense Capricorn Clark on the witness stand. This isn't gossip, Laura, Clark testified under oath. She described Diddy's calm, cold demeanor as he made the threat. And it gets worse. Fast forward to 2011 when Clark was no longer an assistant, but Diddy's global brand director. She worked with Cassie Ventura, Diddy's girlfriend at the time, and that's when things got dark. Leavitt pauses, letting the audience absorb the weight. She turns to Jay-Z, her gaze cutting. Jay-Z, you're Diddy's close friend. Want me to go on, or do you have something to share first? Jay-Z clears his throat, trying to stay composed. Karoline, you're trying to paint me as complicit. I don't know about these things. Diddy's my friend, but I'm not involved in his personal life. Leavitt smiles, but it's laced with sarcasm. Not involved. Let me jog your memory. According to Clark's testimony, one night in 2011, Diddy showed up at her apartment, banging on the door, gun in hand. He was furious because he found out Cassie was dating Kid Cudi. Diddy shouted, demanding Clark get dressed and come with him to handle Cudi. She was forced into an Escalade with Diddy and his bodyguard Ruben, speeding to Cudi's house in Hollywood Hills. Jay-Z, you say you know nothing, but do you really want the audience to believe you're completely clueless about your close friend? The audience gasps, some whispering excitedly. Laura, sensing the heat, interjects, Karoline, you're painting a very disturbing picture. But how do you tie this to Jay-Z? He wasn't there, was he? Leavitt pivots, her voice sharper. Laura, it's not just about who was there. It's about who knew what and chose to stay silent. Jay-Z has built his image as a champion for justice. But when his best friend is accused of kidnapping, death threats, and abuse, where is he? I'll give the audience one more detail. Clark testified that Diddy not only worked her to exhaustion, 2 to 4 hours of sleep a night, but also tore up documents showing he owed her $80,000 in overtime pay. That's how Diddy treated his staff. Jay-Z, have you ever asked Diddy how he runs his empire? Jay-Z shakes his head, his voice lowering. Karoline, you're trying to make me look like the bad guy. I don't control Diddy. I'm focused on building Rock Nation, helping my community, and doing my work. You're digging up the past to distract from Trump's issues. Leavitt tilts her head, her eyes locked on Jay-Z. Digging up the past? No, I'm shedding light on the present. Clark testified that Diddy not only threatened her, but abused Cassie, kicking her while she curled up on the floor. This isn't gossip, Jay-Z. This is courtroom testimony. And you, Diddy's longtime friend, didn't feel the need to speak out, or were you too busy with glitzy parties to notice? Jay-Z furrows his brow, his voice sharpening. I'm not here to defend anyone. If Diddy did wrong, he'll face the law. But, Karoline, you're trying to make me part of this story. I'm not involved. Leavitt smiles, her voice soft but defiant. Not involved. Then let me ask you, when Diddy threw those freak-off parties with baby oil, cameras, and shady activities, did you ever wonder what your friend was up to, or did you just show up, enjoy, and leave? The audience deserves the truth, and I'm bringing it right now. The studio atmosphere crackles like a furnace, the audience's eyes glued to Karoline Leavitt as she sets her iPad down. The courtroom sketch of Diddy's trial still glowing on the large screen behind. Laura Bennett, with a mix of curiosity and caution, leans forward, her voice sharp yet professional. Karoline, you've just made serious allegations about Diddy. But why drag Jay-Z into this? He's made it clear he's not involved. Do you have any evidence linking him? Leavitt in her pink blazer stands tall, her piercing gaze sweeping over Jay-Z, radiating unwavering confidence. Laura, I'm not dragging anyone in. Jay-Z put himself in the center of this mess by choosing to be Diddy's close friend for decades. He wants us to believe he's completely clueless about Diddy's actions. I don't buy it, and I bet the audience here doesn't either. Jay-Z, still outwardly calm, taps his fingers lightly on the chair, a sign of tension. Karoline, you're trying to create drama to distract from Trump's issues. Diddy and I are friends. Yes, but I don't live in his pocket. I have my career, my family, and my own mission. Building community, not destroying it. You're trying to paint me as complicit without evidence. Leavitt lets out a soft laugh, the sound ringing like a subtle challenge. Evidence. Jay-Z, you're a smart man. You run Rock Nation. Rub shoulders with the world's most powerful people. You want me to believe you never heard a whisper about Diddy's freak-off parties? Those events, with baby oil, cameras, and shady activities that Capricorn Clark testified about in court. Give me one reason to believe you never suspected your friend. The audience buzzes with murmurs, a few whistles echoing from the corner. Laura raises a hand, trying to maintain order, her voice calm but challenging. Karoline, you're making assumptions. Jay-Z isn't accused in Diddy's trial. Do you have concrete evidence linking him, or is this just speculation to attack? Leavitt steps forward, her eyes fixed on Jay-Z, her voice sharp but tinged with humor. Laura, I'm not speculating. I have a story the audience will want to hear. Let's go back to the 2000s when Jay-Z and Diddy were a power duo in the music world. They attended lavish parties in Manhattan together, where, according to credible sources, Diddy hosted events not just for partying, but to flex his influence. I have a document, call it a letter if you like, from that time, showing Jay-Z was invited to one of Diddy's special parties. He may not have attended every time, but he knew what was going on and he chose silence. Jay-Z shakes his head, his voice firmer. Karine, you're making things up. A letter? Where'd you get that? I never received anything like that. I went to parties, sure, but I'm not tied to what you're implying. You're trying to smear me to protect Trump, who's hurt my community with his policies. Liv tilts her head, her eyes gleaming like a warrior ready to strike. Smear, Jay-Z. I'm just asking the questions everyone wants answered. You've built your image as a fighter for justice. But when Diddy was accused of hosting parties with questionable activities, where were you when Capricorn Clark testified that she was worked to exhaustion and threatened with a gun? Did you ever ask Diddy how he treated his staff? Or were you too busy with million-dollar deals to care? Jay-Z takes a deep breath, his gaze steely. I'm not here to justify Diddy. He's facing his trial and the law will handle it. But Karoline, you're trying to make me part of this story to cover up Trump's failures. I'm focused on helping my community, supporting young people, and building a future. You want to talk about Diddy? Talk to him, not me. Leavitt smiles, her voice soft but defiant. Jay-Z, you want me to talk to Diddy? I would if he were here. But you're the one on this stage and you're his close friend. Let me share another detail from Clark's testimony. Diddy didn't just threaten her. He abused Cassie Ventura, kicking her while she curled up on the floor. Did you ever suspect anything about Diddy, or did you just show up, party, and leave without asking? The audience deserves to know. The applause erupts again, louder, mixed with excited cheers. Some audience members start recording with their phones, sensing this moment will go viral on social media. Laura, trying to regain control, turns to Jay-Z. Jay-Z, do you want to respond? Karoline's asking tough questions. Jay-Z furrows his brow, his voice lowering, but firm. Karoline, you're good at talking. I'll give you that, but you're trying to make me look bad without solid evidence. I don't know what Diddy did in the shadows. If those allegations are true, I'm focused on my work, music, charity, and family. You want to talk about Trump? Talk about how he's divided this country. Liv, it doesn't waver. Her eyes sparkling with confidence. Jay-Z, I'll talk about Trump if you want. But first let me ask, when Diddy was accused of running a criminal enterprise, with guns, threats, and violence, did you feel any responsibility to speak out? Or did you think staying silent was the way to protect your empire? I don't just have evidence. I have a story that will make people rethink how they see Jay-Z and Diddy. Let's start with a detail from Capricorn Clark's testimony. Diddy's former right-hand woman. She didn't just talk about being threatened or those tense rides with a gun in hand. She also revealed the freak-off parties, carefully planned events with baby oil, cameras, and activities. I'll let the audience judge for themselves. But here's the interesting part. Those parties didn't just involve Diddy, other big names were there. And Jay-Z, want to guess who got invited? Jay-Z, his face hardening, leans forward, his voice sharp. Karoline, you're playing a dangerous game. I don't know where you're getting your information, but I'm not tied to any parties like that. You're trying to smear me to protect Trump, but I won't let you do that easily. Leavitt raises a hand, signaling him to stop, her voice soft but sharp as a blade. Jay-Z, I don't need you to guess. I have something to share with the audience. She taps her iPad, and the large screen shifts to a mock-up of an email, a fictional but convincingly presented detail. This is a message from years ago sent from an account tied to Rock Nation, inviting Jay-Z to one of Diddy's special events. The content, an invitation to a party with unforgettable experiences. Jay-Z, you can say you never saw this email, but you want me to believe you knew nothing about what Diddy was hosting with your close relationship with him? Jay-Z shakes his head, his eyes cold. That's fake. I never got an email like that. Karoline, you're making up stories to discredit me. I've spent my life building my community, helping young people, and fighting for justice. You want to talk about Diddy? Talk to him. Don't drag me into it. Leavitt smiles, her eyes never leaving Jay-Z. Jay-Z, I'm not making up stories. I'm drawing from what Capricorn Clark testified in court. She described how Diddy controlled everything from his staff to his closest allies. And you, his longtime friend, want me to believe you never suspected anything. Let me share one more detail. Clark testified that Diddy once tore up documents showing he owed her $80,000 in overtime pay. She worked to exhaustion, sleeping 2 to 4 hours a night, stressed to the point of hair loss. That's how Diddy treated those around him. Did you ever ask him about it, or were you too busy sipping champagne at his parties? The applause erupts, mixed with cheers from the audience. Some raise their phones, recording Leavitt dominating the stage. Laura, sensing Jay-Z is on the ropes, tries to balance things. Karoline, you're painting a very negative picture of Diddy, but the link to Jay-Z still isn't clear. He's not accused in the trial. Jay-Z, do you want to clarify? Jay-Z takes a deep breath, his voice low but resolute. Karine, you're good at talking, I'll give you that. But you're trying to make me the bad guy without concrete evidence. I don't know what Diddy did behind closed doors. If those allegations are true, I'm focused on my music, my family, and helping my community. If you want to talk about Trump, talk about how he's divided this country. Not about stories that don't involve me. Liv, it doesn't flinch. Her gaze piercing Jay-Z. Jay-Z, you want to talk about Trump? Fine. But first, let me finish the story about Diddy. Capricorn Clark didn't just talk about parties or threats. She testified about how Diddy abused Cassie, Ventura kicking her while she curled up on the floor like a coward, and you, who claims to fight for justice, never felt the need to speak out. You want the audience to believe you knew nothing about your close friend. I have a question. When did he throw those parties with cameras and baby oil? Did you ever wonder what was going on, or did you just show up, take pictures, and leave? Jay-Z, showing a hint of unease for the first time, adjusts his posture. Karine, you're trying to make me part of this story, but I'm not Diddy. I don't know about what you're describing. If Diddy did wrong, he'll face the law, but I'm not responsible for his actions. You're trying to discredit me to protect Trump, and I won't let you do that. Leavitt tilts her head, her voice soft but sharp as a blade. Jay-Z, I don't need you to be responsible. I just need you to answer a simple question. When you knew Diddy was accused of running a criminal enterprise with violence, threats, and control, did you feel any need to speak out? Jay-Z, with a steely gaze, stands tall, his voice low but powerful. Laura, I'm not here for Karoline's cheap drama games. He's throwing out unverified emails, stories from a trial I'm not part of. I built my career from nothing, fighting for my community, from education programs to justice reform. Karoline wants to drag me into Diddy's mess to protect Trump, who's divided this country with his words and policies. I'm not Diddy's keeper, and I'm not responsible for what he does. The audience splits, some clapping for Jay-Z, while others murmur, waiting for Leavitt's response. Laura turns to her, her voice sharp but neutral. Karoline, Jay-Z says you're deflecting. You've brought up emails and testimony. But do they really tie him to Diddy's wrongdoing, or are you exaggerating to protect Trump's image? Leavitt, still standing, firm center stage, smiles faintly, her eyes gleaming with confidence. Laura, I don't need to exaggerate. Jay-Z says he fights for his community, and I respect his contributions. But when your closest friend is accused of running a system like a criminal organization, you can't just raise your hands and say, I'm not involved. Let me be clear. Capricorn Clark didn't just testify about parties or violence. She described how Diddy controlled everyone around him, from staff to his girlfriend. Jay-Z, you want me to believe that in decades of friendship you never overheard anything suspicious? I'm not buying it. Jay-Z shakes his head, his voice sharper but still controlled. Karoline, you're trying to make me the villain just because I know Diddy. I wasn't in those rooms, not part of what you're describing. You want to talk about Trump? Talk about how he's pushed immigrants to the edge, how he's hurt people like me. That's the real issue, not the stories you're pulling from a trial. Leavitt steps closer, her eyes locked on Jay-Z, her voice like a thin but razor-sharp blade. Jay-Z, I'm more than happy to talk about Trump if you want, but you can't dodge my question. You say you fight for justice, but when Capricorn Clark testified that Diddy kicked Cassie Ventura while she curled up on the floor, did you ever think to question your close friend? Or were you too busy walking red carpets, signing deals, and leaving people like Clark to suffer? The audience erupts again, applause mingling with excited whistles. Some hold up their phones, capturing every moment, sensing this drama will explode on social media. Laura, seeing Jay-Z backed into a corner, interjects with a serious tone. Karoline, you're making very heavy accusations, but Jay-Z isn't under investigation, and he's made it clear he didn't know about those actions. Do you have specific evidence linking him to what Diddy did? Liv tilts her head, her eyes gleaming with defiance. Laura, I don't need to put Jay-Z on a list of defendants to question his silence. Let me share another detail from Clark's testimony. She was worked to exhaustion, threatened with a gun, and denied $80,000 in overtime pay. Diddy didn't just control his staff, he controlled those closest to him. Jay-Z, you're a smart man, a networker. You want me to believe you never overheard anything about how Diddy ran his empire? You never saw anything that made you stop and think something's wrong here. Jay-Z takes a deep breath, his gaze steely but betraying tension. Karoline, you're trying to turn my friendship with Diddy into a crime. I don't know about what you're describing. If Diddy did wrong, he'll face the law. But I'm not here to do the court's job. I'm here to talk about bigger issues like how Trump has hurt my community, how he's divided us. Leavitt smiles, her voice soft but dripping with sarcasm. Jay-Z, you want to talk about bigger issues? Fine. But justice starts with facing the truth, even when it involves your friends. When Clark testified that Diddy threw parties with cameras and baby oil, it wasn't just partying. It was a system built to control and cover up. You say you didn't know, but you've been in Diddy's inner circle for decades. Do you really want the audience to believe you never suspected anything? Jay-Z stands tall, his voice low, but resolute. I don't need to defend myself against baseless accusations. Karoline's trying to make me look complicit, but I'm not Diddy. I'm focused on building a future, not digging up the past. If she wants to talk about Trump, I'm ready, but I won't let her drag me into Diddy's story. Leavitt, unflinching, locks eyes with Jay-Z. Jay-Z, I'm not dragging you anywhere. You put yourself there by choosing silence. The audience deserves the truth, and I'm here to deliver it. The studio explodes. The audience leaps to their feet, phones raised high, recording every second of the confrontation reaching its peak. Karoline Leavitt stands towering on stage, her eyes blazing with unshakable confidence. Across from her, Jay-Z maintains his outward calm, but the tension in his eyes begins to show under the spotlight. Laura Bennett rises from the host's chair, trying to maintain composure amid the tidal wave of media unfolding before her. Her voice rings out powerfully through the mic like a final nail sealing a historic broadcast. We've just witnessed an unrelenting debate where political power clashed head-on with cultural influence. Karoline, Jay-Z, thank you for bringing us a breathtaking and unforgettable evening. See you next time. As the studio lights dim, the large screen behind shifts to display social media posts, erupting like a media storm. An audience member shouts, "Karoline, you're fire!" sparking laughter throughout the studio. But that's just the beginning. As the show ends, the wave of public and media reactions begins to spread, turning Leavitt's performance into a social media phenomenon. On social media, posts explode like fireworks. One user writes, Karoline Leavitt just tore Jay-Z apart on live TV. She's got evidence, wit, and zero fear. Another shares a clip of Leavitt's sarcastic remark about baby oil at Diddy's parties, captioned, "This is why you don't mess with the White House press secretary." Within hours, clips from the show rack up millions of views with thousands of shares. A standout post from a major influencer declares, Leavitt turned Jay-Z into a spectator on his own show. This is the media performance of the year. Meanwhile, Jay-Z tries to respond. On Instagram, he posts a brief message with a photo of himself in the recording studio captioned, "The truth will always win. I'm focused on music and community, not drama." But his post is quickly drowned out by comments from fans and show viewers. The top-liked comment reads, "Jay-Z, you can't just post a quote and think people will forget what Karoline said." Another mock focused on music. "Maybe you should focus on picking better friends like Diddy." Diddy, meanwhile, remains completely silent. Sources close to his trial say he's focused on preparing for upcoming hearings, unwilling to be drawn into the media frenzy. However, his silence only adds fuel to Leavitt's narrative. An ex-post from an account claiming to be an industry insider writes, "Did's not talking because he knows Karoline's holding the truth. She just shook the entire industry. Major outlets quickly jump in." A Daily Mail headline blares White House. Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt clashes with Jay-Z, exposes Diddy secrets and fiery talk show. The article praises Leavitt as a new media star, describing how she dominated the stage with rare confidence and sharpness. Yahoo News runs a bold headline, Karoline Leavitt leaves Jay-Z stunned with shocking Diddy revelations. The piece quotes excerpts from Capricorn Clark's testimony, emphasizing how Leavitt used them to corner Jay-Z. A media commentator notes, Leavitt didn't just defend Trump, she made herself an undeniable force in the media world. Inside the White House, rumors swirl that President Trump watched the show and was thrilled. A source close to him reveals that Trump called Leavitt directly after the program, praising her for teaching Jay-Z a lesson and bolstering his image. On Truth Social, Trump posts a brief message. Karoline Leavitt is a warrior for truth. She showed, who really stands up for this country? His post is quickly shared thousands of times, amplifying the heat around Leavitt's performance. Across platforms, clips from the show are uploaded by news channels and content creators, racking up millions of views. A video titled Karoline Leavitt Destroys Jay-Z in 5 Minutes trends with comments flooded with praise. One viewer writes, "She's not just smart, She's hilarious. The way she roasted Jay-Z about Diddy was pure gold. Another comments, put Karoline on every talk show. She's a nightmare for any opponent. However, not everyone sides with Leavitt. Some of Jay-Z's fans on X pushback, arguing she exaggerated and used unverified information to attack him. One post reads, Karoline's trying to make Jay-Z look bad to protect Trump. He's got nothing to do with Diddy, but these voices are quickly drowned out by the wave of support for Leavitt, especially as clips from the show continue to spread. A prominent account writes, Jay-Z may be the king of hip-hop, but Karoline's the queen of truth tonight. Meanwhile, media analysts begin dissecting Leavitt's performance. An article in The Wrap calls her the White House's new secret weapon, comparing her to figures like Sean Spicer, but with sharper wit and a modern edge. Another commentator notes, Leavitt knows how to use the TV stage as a battlefield, and she won overwhelmingly. As the media dust settles, one thing is clear. Leavitt turned Truth Uncovered into a career-defining moment. She didn't just defend Trump. She cemented herself as a powerful, intelligent woman, unafraid to take on big names. Laura Bennett, despite trying to remain neutral throughout the show, can't hide her admiration as she shakes Leavitt's hand. Jay-Z, with a calm but pensive expression, quietly leaves the studio, his eyes carrying 1,000 unspoken thoughts. But the stage and the story tonight belong to Leavitt. Backstage, Leavitt pauses before a large mirror, taking a deep breath. This